Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order Planning and Development Committee meeting of August 6, 2025. Niagara Region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and the town of Grimsby stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda? Moved by Member Phillips, second by Member Potter, second by Councillor Frake. Moved by Member Potter, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved the agenda for the Planning and Development Committee meeting of August 6, 2025 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Can I have a mover and seconder to receive the previous minutes? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Member Potter. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Member Potter. Resolved that the following minutes be received. Planning and Development Committee, June 11th, 2025. Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee, July 22nd, 2025. All in favor? That's carried. There was a written delegation from Cornerstone Association of Realtors regarding report PA 2527. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? All right. Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Member Potter, second by Councillor Frake. Moved by Member Potter, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that the written delegation from Cornerstone Association of Realtors be received. All in favor? That's carried. There's no consent reports. Can I have a mover and seconder to get the report PA 2527 on the floor for discussion? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Member Potter. Lauren, please go ahead. Thank you.
Through the mayor, I do have a presentation this evening. So good evening, everyone. The purpose of this presentation is going to be to provide a recommendation on the municipally initiated official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for additional residential units, also known as ARUs, in Grimsby. These amendments aim to bring the official plan and the zoning bylaw into compliance with provincial legislation, regulation, and policies regarding ARUs. Next slide, please. Firstly, I'd just like to take a moment to outline the process that's been undertaken so far. So to begin, we started off with an introductory report about the proposed amendments, which was brought to Planning and Development Committee and further to Council earlier this year. A statutory public meeting was held on June 11th, 2025. Based on the input received, further analysis and revisions were made to the proposed amendments, and now today, a recommendation report has been brought to Planning and Development Committee. It is anticipated that this will be brought further to Council on Monday. Next slide, please. So again, to provide a little bit more background, additional residential units, or ARUs, are self-contained dwelling units that contain living space, kitchen, and bathroom facilities. ARUs are considered additional as they are located on the same lot as the principal residential dwelling, such as a single detached, semi-detached, or street townhouse dwelling. On the screen there, you can see some examples of what an ARU may or might look like. Next slide, please. So the proposed amendments, as noted before, aim to bring the town of Grimsby official plan and zoning bylaw zoning bylaw into compliance with provincial legislation, regulation, and policy regarding, again, additional residential units. These proposed changes include permitting up to 2 additional residential units on municipally serviced lots, excluding the Niagara Escarpment area, within the town's urban settlement boundary where a single detached, semi-detached, or street townhouse dwelling is permitted, subject to further conditions. Further aligning with Ontario Regulation 299-19 by enabling the following on municipally serviced lands within the urban settlement boundary. So that's permitting tandem parking configurations for ARUs, permitting up to 45% lot coverage on lots that contain an ARU, and exempting buildings that contain an ARU from angular plane requirements. This amendment also includes permitting additional residential units on privately serviced rural and agricultural lands where a single detached house is permitted and subject to further conditions, as well as permitting one additional residential unit on privately serviced lands within the hamlets where a single detached dwelling is permitted, subject to further conditions. These amendments also include other minor fixes that include aligning definitions and clarifying provisions and references. Moving along. So we received a few comments in regards to this municipally initiated amendment. We received comments from Enbridge Gas, from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, from the Niagara Escarpment Commission, from West End Home Builders Association, and from members of the public and the committee. Next slide, please. So I'd like to take a little bit of time again to review some of the comments received and their impacts on the draft amendments. So beginning, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority noted that there are certain limitations and in some case prohibitions on new dwelling units in hazard lands. To ensure that these policies, the policies of the Conservation Authority, are considered when a new residential unit is proposed within a hazard land, a policy within the hazard land section of the OP, you can see up there 3.2.16, has been revised to enable issues of concern to be explored through the review process. Next, the Niagara Escarpment Commission noted that there are further limitations to be considered for the lands within the Niagara Escarpment Plan area, limiting the permitted location and number of ARUs within the NEC urban area specifically as well. To ensure that the policies of the NEC are taken into account when an ARU is proposed on the NEC lands, some revisions and additions have been included in the draft official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, and you can see them listed on the screen there. Moving along, please. So there was also a request to consider expanded permissions that go beyond the requirements of Ontario Regulation 299-19. Considering that the amendments that we're looking at, the current draft amendments, there we go, are about bringing the town just into alignment with provincial direction, and this would go beyond that. The staff agreed that it was out of scope for this project, so no changes were applied based on this comment. Next, there was some concern raised about the removal of the cellar definition. Again, while staff recognize that a cellar and a basement can be considered and used differently, the proposed changes to the definition match the intention of the building code. So no further changes were applied based on that comment. Next, there was some further interest raised at the public meeting regarding the concept of servicing. So staff reviewed the wording related to site servicing that was included in the existing amendments and determined that the phrasing included in the proposed amendment, which was water supply and sewage disposal, was clear. So no further changes were applied there. Next slide, please. So next, there was some uncertainty raised again at the public meeting regarding how townhouses might be able to support an ARU and some of the related parking impacts. Again, parking requirements are outlined through the town's zoning bylaw, and staff recognize that there may be unique challenges associated with any lot that proposes to accommodate an ARU, and those challenges need to be considered on a case-by-case basis. So no changes were applied here. And then finally, recognizing that this is it's a large policy set. And so there have been a number of questions simply about where and how ARUs will be permitted in the town. So in response to this, staff have prepared a supplementary ARU information guide to provide the information in a little bit more of a digestible way. Next slide, please. So to summarize, the proposed draft amendments remain largely unchanged, although some changes have been applied in response to the comments received and also through some further staff review. For example, there was some revision made to the definitions of dwelling unit and garden suite, just some minor wording changes after a bit further staff review. Next slide, please. So moving on to the recommendation, staff recommend that the amendments are approved and that the Planning and Development Standing Committee recommend Council approve the draft official plan and draft zoning bylaw amendments. And now if there are any additional questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your presentation, Lauren. Questions or comments from committee? Member Potter.
Thanks, Lauren. It only seems yesterday you did the first presentation, so thank you for the indulging all the feedback and giving us back. Obviously, because I raised the cellar question, obviously disappointed cellar's been parked, but I'll get over it. One observation, and I'm not an expert in municipal law, but the definition of basement, which I'll accept, this is all subject to building code definition as well, I assume, because a basement in general, I believe, has to be 6'4" height, not including any pipes that come down, but the average height. So my only concern is that we get into a situation where somebody says, I've got a basement, like me, who has actually got a cellar, which doesn't fit, really, and somebody tries to cram people into a 5-foot space. So this has to be in concert with the building code definitions as well, I assume. Is there a need for clarity there?
To the chair, I'm going to ask if Terry, I believe she's on, if she can perhaps provide some more insight on this particular question.
Hi. Everything would have to be reviewed. Sorry, through the chair. Everything would have to be reviewed through the building staff to make sure. Because it's the zoning bylaw and we don't really regulate the uses inside the house. We don't go into a great significant amount of detail into that. So that's exactly where the building code comes in, to make sure it's a habitable unit, and they would make sure it has windows and egress and all of those components that would need to make it a habitable space. It's just looking at where you can locate it. So that was a little bit of an odd clause in our zoning bylaw. So that's why it's just, we're trying to take it out, because it has been a bit of a stumbling block for folks to be able to consider an ARU at this point in time.
Any further questions? I just have one. I just had a phone call from a resident on the escarpment, and they were just wondering, thank you, thanks. They were just wondering about, I guess it would just be regular building plan for cisterns and septic systems, so.
Just some more clarity there when you're talking about, like, are you asking about the servicing specifically in that area?
Yeah, they were asking, because they have a relatively large property, and they were asking whether, like, if they have a standalone accessory unit, residential, would it just be regular septic system, obviously, because there's no sewers up there, and a cistern system for their water, so.
Yeah, through the mayor. So again, it depends, everything's on a case-by-case basis, and I don't know the exact location, so it's a bit challenging to provide some analysis right off the top of my head. But I can say that again, maybe the information guide would be a helpful place to start because it does outline the instances where private servicing and municipal servicing are required. Again, in all instances within the urban settlement boundary, there's a requirement that the ARU is connected to municipal water and wastewater services, and outside of that area, so I'm assuming, it would be on adequate private services. So again, there would have to be some considerations made there as well, just to make sure everything is in order.
All right, because that's what I basically told them, that it would be A, on a case-by-case basis, and then B, subject to approval, obviously, from the region on the septic part of it. And the cistern is pretty simple because it's relatively easy. So, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Terry did have her hand.
Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Exactly what you said. They would still have to go through the region to make sure that their septic services could accommodate that additional unit, and their water provision as well was satisfactory to meet the need.
Great, thank you. All right, so seeing no further questions, moved by Councillor Frake, second by Member Potter. Resolved that report PA 2527, recommendation report, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for additional residential units, ARUs, dated August 6, 2025, be received, and one, that the draft official plan amendment attached to the report as Appendix A be recommended for approval, and two, that the draft zoning bylaw amendment attached to the report as Appendix B be recommended for approval. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, there's no correspondence this month. Is there any other business pertaining to the committee? All right, seeing none, the next Planning and Development Committee meeting is scheduled for September 3rd, 2025 at 5 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.